Okay. Here we go. In our last read aloud, the elves and the shoemaker, we talked about how shoes were made long ago and how shoes are made and look now. Well, today, in today's read aloud, we're going to learn about 3 different tradespeople who built homes during colonial times. The bricklayer, the mason, and the carpenter. These tradespeople still build homes today. Look at this house in this picture. Can you, if you pin it, can you see what that material is on this house? What's this part of the front of the house made out of? Nicole?
Stone?
Not that part. This brick. You're right. Brick. In colonial times, bricks were used by colonial tradespeople to build houses and walls. The tradespeople who were experts at building with bricks were called bricklayers. There are still bricklayers today. All right, now what is this material in the front of this house called? This part. Are we?
Stone?
Stone, you're right. In colonial times, stones were also used by colonial tradespeople to build houses and walls. The people who were experts with stones were called masons. So if you weren't called a stone layer. Bricklayers were called bricklayers, but stone layers were called masons. You were called a mason if you laid stones. There are still stone masons today. And what do you call this material that I'm holding in my hand right here? What's this? Carolyn?
A block.
It's wood. The material is called wood, and in colonial times, wood was also used by colonial tradespeople to build houses, fences, and walls. These tradespeople who were experts at building with wood were called carpenters. There are still carpenters today. Okay, which house in this picture behind me looks like it might be from colonial times? House number 1 or house number 2? Which house looks like it might be from colonial times? Show me a 1 for 1. Show me a 2 for 2. Okay, house number 1 is from colonial times, the house on the left. This house was built by a bricklayer, a mason, and a carpenter. The bricklayer laid the brick on the foundation, the bottom part of the house. The carpenter laid the wood on the side, and the mason laid the stones for the chimney. Which house looks like it's from today? This house. This house was also built by a bricklayer, a mason, and a carpenter. See, there's the brick, there's the stone, and there's the wood by the carpenter. A bricklayer is a tradesperson who builds with brick. What is a mason? Who remembers what a mason is? A tradesperson who builds with what? What does a mason build with? Nicole?
Stone.
Stone. Very good. A mason builds with stone. And what does a carpenter build with? What does a carpenter build with? Are we?
Wood.
Wood. Very good. Here are some vocabulary words we're going to see in our story. This word is foundation. Can you say foundation? A foundation is the bottom of a house or a building. Buildings are built on top of a foundation. In colonial times, a home's foundation was made of stone, and the home was built on top of the foundation. A stone mason laid the foundation for the home. You cannot see the foundation of your house, but it's very important because your house would crumble and fall without it. Here is an example of a foundation, the bottom part of the house that you cannot see. You can only see it when it's being built. Another vocabulary word I want us to talk about is this word, diagram. Can you say diagram? A diagram is a drawing that shows how parts should be put together. A carpenter would use a diagram to build a fence. Here is a diagram of a building, a business building. It's a drawing that shows where parts or things belong. Listen carefully to learn more about colonial house builders, the bricklayers, the masons, and the carpenters, and the tools that they used. During colonial times, most people built their own homes by themselves with the help of neighbors. Which house did we say was built during colonial times? 1 or 2? 1, right here. If a family had enough money, they could hire a tradesperson who were experts at their trade to build their homes, walls, and fences. There were 3 different tradespeople who helped build homes in colonial times. Who can tell me one of them? Tell me one tradesperson who helped build a home. Nicole? Who can help her out? Are we? What's one of the tradespeople that builds homes?
The stone one, I forgot.
Stone mason. Stone mason.
Yeah.
Yeah, a mason who lays stone. What's another colonial tradesperson that built a home? There was the mason, what's another one? Oh, come on, you guys. Russell? Yeah, the bricklayer. The bricklayer. He laid the bricks. And what's the person that built with wood called? The carpenter. A carpenter worked with wood. Very good. This home was also built with the help of a bricklayer, mason, and carpenter. There is little difference between a bricklayer, mason, or carpenter today. And these 3 tradespeople were also from colonial times. Although we sometimes call them construction workers, bricklayers, masons, and carpenters are each an expert at working of one type of material. A bricklayer works with brick, the masons work with stone, and the carpenters work with wood. Construction workers today also use many of the same tools as tradespeople from colonial times, except that some of the tools that they use today are battery powered or electrical. The bricklayer is an expert tradesperson who builds walls and houses using bricks. are made from clay, red dirt that comes from the earth. North Carolina makes a lot of bricks because we have the perfect dirt for making bricks. We have red clay dirt. It has been mixed together with water and shaped into a block and baked in the sun or a special oven called a kiln to harden into a solid brick. Bricks are mostly the same size and shape because the clay is baked in a mold or a container that is the same size and shape. In this picture, the bricklayer is laying bricks the same way a tradesperson would have done 300 years ago. The bricklayer is using a trowel to lay the bricks. The bricklayer is using a trowel to spread mortar. Mortar is a very sticky material made of sand, water, and crushed rock. See the gray that he's spreading on here? That's called mortar. That's like the glue that holds it together. Kind of like concrete, but not quite. Are we? What's your question?
My house is made out of bricks.
Yeah. To build a wall, the bricklayer must spread mortar and then place bricks neatly and evenly on the mortar. More mortar is added and smoothed using a trowel, and then bricks are stacked on top. If a bricklayer is good at his trade, his wall will be straight and strong and will last for many years. What material does this chimney... Hang on, don't call out. What material is this chimney made of? Raise your hand if you know. Jonyan, what's this chimney made out of?
Wood.
Stone. The chimney is made of stone. A stonemason or just mason built this chimney. The stonemason or mason is an expert tradesperson who builds homes, walls, or chimneys with stone. The mason also uses mortar to stick the stones together. Unlike bricks, stones can come in all shapes and sizes. Remember, the brick, that was easy to lay. It's all the same size. Stones are all different sizes and shapes. To build a strong, straight wall or chimney, the mason has to pick stones that will fit together, kind of like a puzzle. Look at this picture of this stone wall. Can you see how the stones in this wall have been carefully fitted together, like pieces in a puzzle? Do you see any mortar between the stones on this wall? No. To be able to fit the stones together tightly without using mortar, the stonemason has to patiently chip away at the stones with a hammer and a sharp chisel or sharp-pointed metal tool. The mason had to patiently reshape the stones so that each one would fit perfectly together. Colonial masons also built the foundations or the bottom or base of a house. The stones in the foundation must fit together tightly like a puzzle so they never move, crack, or break apart. Building walls and foundations that fit together like a puzzle require that the mason work patiently. The mason needs to do his work slowly and carefully. He cannot be rushed. The carpenter is a tradesperson who works with wood. Before a carpenter starts building something, he makes a diagram or a drawing that shows exactly how long, how wide, and how thick each piece of wood needs to be. The diagram shows how each piece needs to be fitted or placed together. To make sure the pieces of the house fit together, the carpenter uses a special measuring tool called a square. Carpenters like using a square instead of a ruler because of the tool's L shape. See how it's shaped like the letter L? It helps them to correctly measure boards that have already been joined together. So that's not a ruler, that is a square. A carpenter has to be very careful to get his or her measurements just right, or the pieces of the house will not fit together exactly and the house will not stand up straight. Do you want to live in a crooked house? Me neither. Good carpenters measure each board 2 times or twice before cutting to make sure they have marked the exact or correct place. Carpenters have a saying, measure twice, cut once. The saying means measure 2 times before you cut anything, because once you cut a board, you cannot uncut it. After measuring twice, the carpenter cuts the wood with a saw, a cutting tool with sharp teeth like rows, by pulling and pushing the saw back and forth across the wood. Does this house look finished to you? No. This is the frame of a house. A carpenter patiently fastens or attaches and joins together all the boards by using a hammer and nails to create a frame. The frame of the house gives the house its shape, like your skeleton gives your body its shape and holds everything together. The frame holds up the walls, the roofs, the doors, and the windows of a house. If a carpenter, mason, and bricklayer do their jobs well, the house they build will shelter families from sun, wind, rain, and cold for years and years. We know that colonial home builders were experts at their trade because many of the homes that they built hundreds of years ago are still standing today. Okay, let's ask some questions. What was the main idea of today's read aloud? What was today's read aloud mainly about? Smriti?
How to build houses in colonial times?
Excellent! How to build houses in colonial times. And we learned about 3 specific tradespeople that did that. Who thinks they can name all 3 tradespeople? Ooh, that's a tough one. Ryan, you think you can do it? Let's try.
Mason.
The mason. He laid the stone.
Carpenter.
The carpenter. He worked with wood.
Bricklayer.
And the bricklayer. He laid the brick.
And I have
Excellent.
a question. I seem to tell you.
What?
There are pink rocks and brown rocks and red rocks.
Yeah, there's different colored rocks. There sure are. Very good. Carpenters have a saying, measure twice, cut once. Why do they say that? Why do they say measure twice, but cut once? Anya?
Because first you have to make sure you measure it precisely, and then you can't uncut it.
Right, I can't just glue it back together once I've cut the wood. It wouldn't be very strong. Excellent job. Okay, today we sometimes call modern tradespeople who build homes construction workers. How do you think the work of a colonial house builder and a present-day construction worker are the same and different? Do they use the same materials? Do they use the same tools? Nicole, how are they the same? The construction workers and the colonial tradespeople?
They are both the same.
How?
To build house like the brick, the stones.
They still use bricks, stones, and woods, just like the colonial people did. But what's different? Do construction workers use the same tools, or do they use machines like with electricity? They use machines with electricity to do their work. They'll have a nail gun that you just press it against the wood and it fires the nail in, and you don't have to hammer it. They might use a drill to drill a hole, and they don't have to do that by hand. So we do have better tools. I want to talk to you real quick before we leave about a saying. This saying is called better safe than sorry. Have you ever heard that saying, better safe than sorry? Thumbs up if you have. Better safe than sorry is another way of saying it's better to be careful or safe and ready for something. Otherwise, you may be sorry about the way something turns out. In the read aloud, the carpenter always measures twice before cutting the wood once. Measuring 2 times is more work than measuring just 1 time. But if the carpenter measures wrong and cuts the wood too short, he or she will feel sorry or sad. So, give me a thumbs up if I'm going to read a sentence, and if it goes along with the saying better safe than sorry, give me a thumbs up. If it does not go along with that saying, give me a thumbs down. Your mother says it might rain, so put on a raincoat. So put a raincoat in your backpack. Is that an example of being better safe than sorry, or is it not? It is an example of being better safe than sorry. Your mom's saying it might rain today. Go ahead and pack your raincoat. Put it in your backpack in case it does. Because if you get caught in the rain without your raincoat, you're gonna be what? Sorry. Today, your class may be going to the library or maybe going to gym class. So you wear your sneakers to school and put your library book in your book bag. Is that an example of better safe than sorry? Yes, it is. You're prepared. You're not sure if you have PE or library, so you wear your tennis shoes and you bring your library book just in case. Your homework is due on Wednesday, but your friend is coming over to play on Tuesday. So you finish all your homework on Monday. Better safe than sorry. Very good. All right, boys and girls, that is all for our lesson today. You guys did a wonderful job. I want you to go outside and enjoy